Today, I'm Norman Klein. Our guest is Catherine Burr, who is the author of a very quickly fast-selling book called Silicon Secrets. Catherine is a local author, and before we get into it, I just want to say I really kind of identified with this book. You know, I'm a poor kid from not Eastern Europe, but from the east side of San Jose, and I didn't really have that much technical background, but I find myself like your main character, Lucky, all of a sudden in this high-tech valley, trying to survive and trying to be as aggressive as possible.
Exactly.
And finding myself also a manager of an IT department at Lockheed, and also as a manager at Apple Computer, and away you go. And the fast pace of this book, I really identified with that era in the 1980s and 1990s. And how did you, again, I asked you, how did you come up with that, how fast this book actually
I think also,
runs?
I think you're right. And the Valley is very fast-paced. You know, it's slower pace obviously now, but it has been a very, very fast-paced.
Oh, it's still pretty fast, I tell you. I mean, even when
you know what,
compared to a lot of places.
I think sometimes, unless you travel around, you think that the Silicon Valley, that this is really why I wrote the book, because I would always tell my husband, you know, we would go to events and things, and I'd say, you know, people just out there wouldn't know what it's really like here. I mean, they just don't. I mean, it's so unique. This is such a unique environment.
Yeah, you've really picked up on a lot of things. You know, I was reading the book. I'm reading certain lines and places and stories. And I'm saying, well, you know, I know this place. I know this place. I know this place. You know, but I was thinking in my mind, well, you didn't write this for Silicon Valley people who know these places. You wrote these for the world, and the world would gleam into. You mentioned Sand Hill. You mentioned Atherton. You mentioned the beach. Obviously, it could be maybe Santa Cruz or a community like Santa Cruz. You mentioned a restaurant where a lot of things happen, which is I don't know if we want to tell, but the name of the restaurant is Chevy.
In the book, yes, but the actual restaurant was patterned after Bella Vista in Woodside.
Sure. Yeah, where all the big power.
I renamed it in the book, but actually that was one of the things. I went to my first book group, reading group, and one of the first things they said to me was, "Tell us the name of the restaurant. We know that it's Bella Vista," and I was really surprised, because I just thought that, I don't know, it just hit me, because you know, when you're writing, I thought that maybe I just didn't know that people would just pick up on it like that, and they did. People have picked up. Some people haven't, but most people have just picked up on it right away.
And obviously, some other characters, which we won't go into, are obviously identified with some major name people in the industry too. I can imagine. And
well, some people ask me. Even my editor was begging me to ask me who Billy Sanger. She said, "I know that Billy Sanger is after, you know, is really Bill Gates," and I said, you know, and someone just yesterday said to me, "I know that Jennifer Jones is really this person, and I know that John Dunn is this person," and you know, and then my sister read a very early draft, and she said, I just know that the Lucky character is really based on she said, Larry Ellison. And I just kind of, and I don't tell anybody, obviously, and I just kind of smile, because most of the time they're wrong. And so I just think
let them believe,
they're whoever you want them to believe.
Sure.
Just like the town I write about, Seabreeze, it's sort of a Santa Cruz-y type town, but it's Seabreeze, and you can, I wrote about a fictitious town because for several reasons, I needed to narrow the spacing from San Francisco to Silicon Valley to over the beach, so I made it a fictitious town, Seabreeze, but basically it could be Half Moon Bay or Santa Cruz or...
So the storyline, quickly, without giving too much away, is that Lucky, who's a poor boy from the East European country, finds his way in America and wants to make it riches and billions of dollars, because he saw a clipping out of the paper, and he finds his way to the Pacific Ocean.
Exactly.
A city that looks like Santa Cruz, I guess.
Exactly. He finds his way to the ocean and plans to make it big, because he's heard so much about Silicon Valley, and then he's sidetracked a little bit by a beach girl, a down-to-earth girl named Heather, but he really wants to make it big. He's heard so much about the riches during the dot-com era, especially.
But Lucky's an interesting character, because Lucky is not exactly a good guy. To a certain degree. At least maybe not initially. He doesn't.
Initially.